Hey, so what I'm showing today is a data generation application to easily populate your applications with a lot of data so you don't run into load performance problems down the line. Currently, we do this with DB Forge, but that takes a license and it's a bit hard to use to get the data into cloud. So what I've done is build an app into Appian along with a plugin to automatically generate and then populate data into the cloud database. All right, so this is the front end of the app. What I've done before kicking this off was generate a new quick app. And you can see here, this is a quick app, and in the back end, it's actually created 4 new tables: an activity table, main table, and then 2 reference tables. So the way the app works is for each application you want to generate data for, you can add a new application in here. Just call this one my app video. And then in the search criteria, you want to use something that it can use to find those tables in the back end. So for example, I want to be populating tables that start with that prefix. So you can see here it pulled up the 4 new tables. So I hadn't put this in the database beforehand. I just searched the table, the actual MySQL table metadata to find these tables that have that name. All right, so I want to, in this case, populate these two, the main table and the activity table. And I want to populate the main table first, the activity table second. And that's because the activity table refers to the main table. All right, so these 2 columns here, description and type, they're just for reference purposes. So you don't have to populate them, but I'll just do it here so I know what these tables are. And this is the number of rows I'm going to put in the database. So let's do 15,000. All right, so now I need to populate columns for this table. So here are all the columns. Again, I pulled these from the database. I want to do ID sequential. Let's do a title for this one. Status is going to be a query pulling from the status table. That'll be a query pulling from the priority table. Let's do a date for that. Date time here, double. Let's do a folder, single folder, user from a group, date time, another user from a group, and then another date time. All right, so now I've selected all my generators. I need to give them parameters. So for my title, I want it to have 3 to 5 words. For my SQL, I'm going to be selecting an ID from, this is status, so I need to select that from the stats table. All right, this next one here is from the select ID from the priority table. All right, this is just a date time, or just a date actually. This is the date time. This is just a number. A folder. Users from a group. Another date time for editing. And then 2 more users from a group. The last date time. All right, so now I've populated all of my columns for my main table. So I'm going to go down to the child table and do the same. So again, a sequential ID. All right, so here I'm pulling from my parent table. So I'm going to use a foreign key. Who is just another user. Maybe I'll do a single user this time. Action, let's use a string. Details, let maybe use a paragraph. And then when is another date time. All right, so the table I'm pulling for the parent is the quick act table. And the column I'm using is its ID. And I want to maybe use 4 to 8 children per parent. User, let's just do fixed user. The number of characters in my action, let's say 45 to 250. And then from paragraphs, I'm just going to do 1. No, I'll do 1 or 2. And then date time till today. All right, so now I have everything populated for the 2 tables. And I can click this button. This will eventually be a nicer UI for the actual import and seeing progress. But right now, it just goes right back to the application table. And you can see there's an application. Let's go into the data generator. Monitoring. There's my process kicked off to generate the data. So it's generating 20,000 rows in the database. Should be maybe about 30 seconds. All right, so how long did it take? About 30 seconds. All right, so now if we come back to our record, if we go to this one here, show data generation app, we should see now that we have 5,000 records populated into the database. Each of these should have between 5 and 15 children, somewhere around that. That one has 0. This one has 7. So I think we did 5 and 15, which means that some parents won't have children because we only did 5,000 parents and we did way more. There are not enough children to have 15 per parent. So we could change that number, or we could downsize the number repeated per parent. But you can see some of these have children, some don't. This one has 5 children. All right, and then you can see all of the records, and we've got everything pretty much evenly distributed. So there's no waiting right now. So three users have about the same number, all the status is the same number, and all the priorities the same number. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you wanted to generate the data again, slightly change it, maybe make more parent records, do that. And it's just as easy as clicking that button and regenerating all the data. It'll go ahead and truncate it first and then populate it again. So I doubled the number of main records, so it'll probably take a little bit longer, maybe 45 seconds or 50 seconds. So I'll just let that finish. All right, there we finished. Took us about 35 seconds to do the 25,000 records. And we should see that 10,000 parents, and then each of those parents might have a certain number of children depending on how many it populated. So these ones don't, but others will. Some activities. There are 15,000 of these, 4 for record 1, 2, 3. So it populates in order of the records generation. So if we ran out of records before hitting the limit, that's why you might see that some have activities and some don't. Anyway, that's the way the app works.